Alright, so Married at First Sight final vows have begun. Now for the uninitiated, final vows are basically when these couples that have been in this Married at First Sight experiment decide on whether they are going to continue their relationship outside of the TV show, outside of the experiment, and see if they can actually make a relationship work in the real world. Now this is obviously a big deal because previously these couples have been getting a paid for existence in the Sky Suite, and now they're going to go into the real world, back to their careers, back to their jobs, where distance, family, and social life can get in the way of this relationship that they've built. However, I think the issue we're finding ourselves in this season is that all of these couples already kind of suck. I mean, aside from Jade and Ridge, are any of the couples left actually looking that promising? If these couples are that much of a disaster already, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when they exit the experiment. So this episode is covering 3 couples. We've got Jade and Ridge, we've got Lauren and Jono, and we've got Jack and Tori, sort of. Now let's get the easy one out of the way, Jade and Ridge. Obviously, Jade and Ridge were probably saying yes to each other. They try to build a little tension where Jade goes and talks to her mum, and her mum is being weirdly cold and like skeptical, but at the end of the day, all they're really asking to do is, should I continue a relationship? Like, it's not that big of a deal. I found Jade's mum to be weirdly cold and standoffish here. Now, yes, I get her concern. She wants her daughter to be treated well, but at the end of the day, all this final vows is really saying is, we are going to continue a relationship that we've already been in. Like, the mum can settle down just a bit. The only other build up we get with Jade and Ridge is that Ridge meets up with his friend, and his friend basically just goes, oh wow, Ridge is a changed man. Ridge has shown a lot more maturity. I never pictured this from Ridge. Jade and Ridge get to the final vows. Ridge gives an amazing speech, Jade gives an amazing speech, and they're happy as Larry. Genuinely, I think this is the only couple of Married at First Sight season 11 that has the potential to properly work out, in my opinion. Now next we have Lauren and Jono, and at this point I assume you've either been watching all my recaps or you've been watching the show in general, but you know that Lauren and Jono have been through a cheating scandal recently. So I don't know what the producers, what the editors are trying to accomplish here, acting like there's any potential that Jono and Lauren say yes to each other. So we spend so much time just watching them talk about their relationship and like, oh, I just don't know where things went wrong. It's like, you both do.
Lauren and I are not in a very good place at the moment. That's probably putting it lightly.
So Lauren and Jono are both super unhappy with each other. Jono blames Lauren for his actions, and Lauren is obviously seen there blaming Jono for why the relationship didn't work. And the answer is right down the middle. They finally get to final vows, and this couldn't be any more different than what we saw with Jade and Ridge. This is the complete opposite. Instead of it being a moment of love coming together, this is a moment of love just erupting. This section genuinely made me want to crawl out of my skin. So basically what you have here are 2 people trying to blame each other for where they both went wrong, and they're retroactively looking at the relationship and trying to justify each other's behavior. For example, Jono's sitting there looking back at the relationship and going like, Lauren really hurt me from the start. You know, she said I was boring. She said I was robotic. She was really cruel and she pushed me away. And it's like, that's all true, but that was early weeks, Jono. He is totally justified to have these opinions if he left the experiment 3 to 4 to 5 weeks ago, but instead he's used it as justification now for his shitty actions. I don't blame Jono for being pushed away, and I don't blame Jono for wishing he was paired with a different wife, all right? Like, Lauren was really cruel to him from the start, but in that case, if it really had that much of an effect on you, you leave the experiment earlier. You say, Lauren's not for me, I don't like how I'm being treated, I'm out. But instead, Jono stuck around, and then in the last week or 2, started sleeping with her again and telling her that the relationship's really good. And now that he's been caught out in this texting scandal, instead of saying, oh yeah, I fucked up, I shouldn't have done that, he sits here and goes, oh, well, actually, I did that because of how you treated me at the start. It's like, there's a statute of limitations on this dude. Like, you had your chance to be upset with her about this, and you didn't take it. And now you're bringing it up as a defense for actions that aren't related.
Lauren has taken every opportunity to make things I've done look worse than what they are.
Again, I get why he was pushed away. I get why he was pushed towards Ali, but he should have left at that point. Sticking around and misleading Lauren is really strange. But on top of that, Lauren's doing the same thing. In her little section, she's sitting there going like, oh, I knew Jono was off from the start, you know.
I've gone over the relationship in my mind a million times, and I realized that like a list of things that like have kind of sparked my women's intuition from day one. Who do you think's hot though?
Ellie's really lovely.
And she's got massive titties. I know you're a titty man. And then how hard Jono would go at Ben in commitment ceremonies and at dinner parties.
I'm at a stage where I'm ready to settle down. If kids are after that, yeah.
That's not a yes or no answer.
Well, it's not a yes or no question.
It is.
I don't understand Ben. Like, he had this beautiful, lovely girl. I kind of want to slap him. Like, stop ruining this amazing opportunity you've been given.
And just little looks here and there. Just a few small examples like that.
You know, woman's intuition, like when I was being cruel and when I was being mean and when I was acting out towards him, that's because I knew that his heart was elsewhere. And it's like, no, that like the timeline of that doesn't even work, Lauren. When she said he was too nice for her and she wanted a challenge, like that was literally on their honeymoon. That was literally like day one before Jono had even met Ali. So this justification of like, oh, I knew his energy was off, I knew his heart was elsewhere and that's why I was acting out, isn't accurate either. And looking back at all these moments where they're doing the photo ranking task, when Johnny was defending Ali against Ben, in this retroactively like spiteful manner, I don't think is a good look. Lauren's got enough to be justifiably upset about in the present. And I think for both Lauren and Jono, this thing of like going back and like digging into their good moments and like really psychoanalyzing them and using them as ammunition against each other is just a really bizarre look. And this culminates in a final vows where you have two people that are completely already emotionally detached with each other, trying to hurt the other one, and neither of them accomplish it. Jono has this whole speech where he tries to paint Lauren as this really hurtful woman and he just wanted it to work and she just keeps hurting him. And it's like, well, that's not true because you're having a good time for the past 3-4 weeks.
But mostly the days were not enjoyable for either of us. And I felt like your walls were up and you didn't want to hear from me. I feel like you viewed everything I did through a negative lens. You would say I wasn't assertive, that I was boring and robotic.
And Lauren isn't buying it either, so it just completely bounces off her. I think Jono was actually sitting there thinking everyone at home would be like, fuck yeah, Jono, you show that bitch who's boss. But instead, we're all kind of sitting there going like, okay, that was boring. And similarly with Lauren, she goes on this like massive speech, completely tearing Jono a new one, but Jono doesn't really give a fuck.
I know it's not me, it's you. It's amazing to like get out everything that I've been thinking and feeling and, you know, all these like unresolved feelings of like, is this my fault or is it his fault? Like, I realized that it wasn't me. It was all him.
My God. I did nothing wrong. I've apologized. She hasn't accepted it. I'm tired of apologizing for things I haven't even done.
So it's just this really painful interaction where neither of them are exactly hurting each other. They both talk to the camera about, yeah, it felt really good to get that off my chest, and that'll show the other person. It's like they don't care. Like Lauren will be fine. Jono's obviously going to go off and hang out with Ali. I love when Jono's talking to the camera and he's like, yeah, I'm going to like go off and see if I can like build any romantic connections with like anyone else. I'll give it a few months. It's like, so what you mean is you're going to start texting Ali again straight away. Like, come on, dude. Like, let's be real. I do love the interaction when they first meet up. And I think Jono says something along the lines of like, let's get this over with, shall we? And then Lauren says, hello would have been normal. You can see Jono is trying so hard to look mean and cold and stoic, but he starts to laugh a bit.
Hi.
You ready for this?
Hello would have been normal.
Just such a funny moment, and honestly, that was the only time Lauren and Jono were working, was when they were kind of like bantering like friends. I don't think they were ever going to work as a romantic couple. And I do think they both need to take accountability for their actions. There is no doubt in my mind that Lauren pushed Jono away in those early days, and there is a case to be made that he probably wouldn't have formed a connection with Ali if they had got off to a better start. However, with Jono, he really needed to handle himself better. He really needed to do this the right way. He should have had enough respect with Lauren to end it early and then pursue something with Ali on the outside. We've had couples in this show split up and pair off with other partners, and everyone in Australia's kind of got around it. I mean, look at last season where Duncan and Alyssa, a couple that could never get it right, broke up on Final Vows, and then Duncan eventually paired off with another wife. And now they're in Westpac advertisements. So clearly Australia can get on board with different couples pairing up. Next we have Jack and Tori, and this is why this episode frustrates me. We spend so much time watching Jack talk to his dude bros, talk to the camera, just sit there and go, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, Tori's super attached and like, that's exactly where I want her, but like, I don't know, am I gonna choose her? Like, what do I do with that responsibility?
Mate, she definitely has serious feelings. She's falling,
Yep.
you know?
Oh, wow.
She's infatuated.
Yep.
And I can tell, because we've been under the bus a fair bit, and she supported and she fought for me and she fought for us the entire time. She's never wavered.
Yeah, wow. And that's pretty strong value. Yeah, I know
it's
that's
massive.
a pretty big one for you.
Yeah.
We have so many indulgent shots of Jack. We had to sit there and bear witness to Jack with his hair down.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
This show put us through so much painful cringe, and then they have the audacity to leave it at a cliffhanger before we actually get to know what they say to each other. This was so frustrating. Genuinely, I think we spent 30 minutes watching Jack and Tori just deliberate on this decision. They finally meet up at the final vows and the episode cuts off. So, what do I think is going to happen? Well, I think the show is misdirecting us. Everything we've seen in the promos is Jack saying like, I really never thought I could commit to someone if I didn't love them. I think they're trying to position us to think that Jack is going to say no, and I think he's going to say yes. I think what it's going to be is he spends 95% of the speech making Tori believe that he's going to say no. He's going to say a bunch of like, I never thought I could be with someone like you. I never thought I could open my heart up. I don't think I can commit to someone that I don't love. I think I'm finally ready to say, I love you. I had sex with you and it was fine. It was good. It did the job and I'm ready to commit. Like, that's what Jack wants to do. He wants to sit there and even in the final vows, misdirect her and make her like seek his validation and approval. But yeah, as it stands, all we got was a bunch of painful conversations where Jack went to his friends and was like, yeah, she told me that like, if it doesn't work with me, like she's never gonna love again. I'm like, dude, it's pretty needy. It's a lot. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's like, well, ideally, you would feel the same. Ideally, you'd be into this girl that you've been leading on for 2 to 3 months, and that would be a great thing to hear. But because Jack is so fucking weird, he can't just have a normal response to anything. Honestly, at this point, I'm actually starting to find it hard to hate Jack. I actually just get confused by him. This isn't like a straightforward fuckboy asshole that we've seen in Married at First Sight seasons past. This is like a really weird dude that seems like he just doesn't get social interactions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about tonight's episode of Final Vows, and then we go into the reunion, and then that's it for Married at First Sight season 11. Please let me know what else you'd like me to talk about. Please subscribe, and also check out my TikTok where I talk about a lot of Married at First Sight stuff. Thank you again.